When you're just an average player in the NBA, knowing you can't control your destiny or become a superstar, have no say in anything, take the best contract offered to you, not having a choice on where to go. Everybody wants to go to the Lakers at some point, but the sad reality is, historic top-notch franchises like LA and Boston just have as many players on their teams like the dysfunctional Pelicans and Wizards of the world. Teams where no reasonable winning quality player wants to end up. Mark Williams could have been catching lobs, having the time of his life, playing with arguably two of the most talented offensive players all time, but his team getting that all-time spanking treatment, failing his physical. Next thing you know, he might already be damaged goods by the time he's free. Stuck on the bottom shelf franchise, guys like Jusuf Nurkic sent to the Hornets after struggling with Phoenix, a team on verge failing to make the playoffs, crumbling in front of our eyes. It wasn't like he was traded from a contender. Whenever there's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to join the right team at the perfect time, once you hesitate, it'll forever ruin your legacy. Many role players could have had fans talk about potentially getting their jersey number retired by their former beloved franchise, but now stuck in misery, appearing to have zero happy ending in sight. Starting with Jordan Poole of Golden State, now to DC. From Ville de Deux Splash Brother, a ring with the Dubs, to the bottom he crashed, playing with a team that's trash. As a player with all the expectations and right ingredients to become the next star, hard to be fully motivated when you already won your ring at 22, followed by a lucrative contract only to get ahead of yourself, acting all cocky before one punch changed everything. Golden State's title hopes closed down after that practice video. Franchise way more concerned about who leaked the footage instead of disciplining Draymond of any sort. It became evident Golden State was gonna ride with Green, guaranteeing Poole the one to be ousted. The only way to fully get over the incident, if Golden State repeated or added another deep playoff run, which failed to happen. Poole himself, an absolute travesty in the semis, resulted in an epic disaster, took an awful late 3 game 1, him and Klay Thompson both no-shows game 4 against a beatable Lakers team. His time at the Bay ended as poorly as imaginable, traded for an aging CP3. Poole himself, viewed a franchise player, became fool's gold, one of the worst statistical guys. Last season's Wizards finished 15 wins, averaging fewer points, became king of Shaq and the Fool memes. His 4-year $140 million will likely keep him in DC until the end of 2027. Now 25 years old, enjoying them empty stats. It's absolutely his fault for being immature and pissing everybody off along the way. The purest definition of money changing people. Most of his 2022 playoff success tarnished due to bad behavior and body language all last season, becoming the type of guy who many wouldn't be surprised if he never makes it back to the playoffs again. D'Angelo Russell still looks the same. Where's his muscles? This guy plays with no hustle, soft in the playoffs, folds under the tussle. Once an all-star, ice in his veins, back to his old team, reputation smoked up in flames. The now 29-year-old, a finished product, way too casual of a player, doesn't play with a sense of urgency, too inconsistent to become a winning player. Every franchise he's been on, the team performs much better after his departure. Look at the 2020 Lakers winning it all 2 years after he's gone. The Nets with KD and Kyrie after D'Lo put the franchise back to relevancy, his biggest contribution to the league. Golden State won a title after trading him for Wiggins. Minnesota got rid of him for the older Mike Conley. From no playoff series wins in 20 years to conference finals bound. And look how great Austin Reeves been balling alongside the much better fit Dorian Finney-Smith. Now D'Lo, a shell of himself, averaging career worst in points and field goal percentage, has become such a nobody, could miss the remainder of the season and nobody would know this. One of the most roller coaster careers, flat out total journeyman. D'Lo should know by now the flaws he needs to fix, but just always seems content playing his way, being the real reason holding his former teams back from viewed upon not even the second option, but failing to become the third piece for Cat and Ant Edwards. or Bron and AD, his final nail in the coffin, getting punked by Brucey B, Nuggets conference finals, and destroyed by Jamal Murray. The Lakers would have made those matchups a series had D'Lo play like a true star. After his contract's up this season, what's his real identity in the NBA? Too old to be viewed promising, too young to become a true established vet when still viewed immature, and lacks attention to detail, not doing himself any favors with the Nets, barely playing to earn a decent contract. Any team to give him more than $15 million a year will simply get laughed at. Marcus Smart. Nobody in the NBA landscape has talked about him more than myself, given many of my recent videos. Number 36 was supposed to be a lifelong Celtic, the heart and soul of the team, some say the unofficial true leader. From being in many playoff runs, playing through late May, making 5 conference finals in 9 seasons in Beantown, to Mr. Nowhere to be found. Brad Stevens knew Marcus wasn't reliable enough to truly secure a title for Boston, trading him for the much more talented Kristaps Porzingis, paying attention to the market, finding an upgrade replacing Marcus's role with the better Drew Holiday. Smart lasted just 39 games under 2 seasons with Memphis. Franchise viewed a playoff contender, had no use for him in the backcourt with much better, younger options. The soon-to-be 31-year-old, given his grueling style of play, thousands of flops taken, not being able to stay healthy, more than likely damaged goods, and slowly will be out the league, making over $21 million for 2026, missing 75% of games since traded from the Celtics. Is he a guy we should all feel bad for at this point? More than likely, given the age of Tatum and Brown, the duo probably gonna win another title or 2. Smart's diminished confidence and lack of identity. Nobody has sold a player as high as Brad Stevens did with Smart. Grant Williams, at least he's in a more functional franchise than the current Mavs. From being part of 3 conference finals each of his first 4 NBA seasons to possibly never playing in the postseason again after leaving Boston. All the guys Brad Stevens got rid of appear to have gotten a serious injury within a 2-year period. After leaving Boston, the now 26-year-old might never make a full recovery. Things didn't work out in Dallas. Watched both his former teams matched up in the finals when stuck in bottom shelf Charlotte. Thought he was hot shit, coming from the Celtics to a potential contender, but only becoming annoying. Tried doing too much for his role, doesn't have the ability to put the ball on the floor. From being a hero, dropping 27 in Game 7 Milwaukee 2022 series, Williams proceeded to play like an absolute travesty. Golden State Finals matchup, averaged 4 points, 2 rebounds, went 1 of 2 shooting each of his last 3 games. The Celtics not being able to afford him only led to better opportunities with better players. Williams got his money, but will have to suffer being on a losing franchise for another 2 years. Kelly Olynyk, a great role player for 2017 Boston and 2020 Miami, only been with losing teams since after 2020, from Houston post James Harden to dysfunctional Detroit, Salt Lake City, Utah, to hometown Toronto, and now the lunch lady having to deal with the heavy buffet king Zion in New Orleans. From being a great piece for the rebuilding Celtics during the mid-2010s, the former 13 pig proved himself as an underrated playoff performer in 2 deep runs, but after 2020, nothing but meaningless regular season games to show. From not wanting to leave Boston, it was Gordon Hayward's decision to take his talents representing green and white, pulling Kelly O away, deciding to sign a 4-year deal with Miami instead. Hayward ended up being a disaster, breaking his leg the very first game. Had Gordon gone elsewhere, Olynyk might still have been a Celtic to this very day. Malcolm Brogdon, from 6-man winner to forgotten, the weakest rookie of the year winner this century, only had one job for the contending Celtics: to be healthy in the biggest of moments. Damaged his own legacy, being banged up, scored 0 points Game 7 Conference Finals Miami series after not being able to play Game 6. Upset he didn't feel value with the C's, the Blazers ultimately traded him for the better Denny Avdia. Malcolm, now 32 years old, super injury prone, played 63 total games since shifting out of Boston. From playing with Tatum and Brown, future champions, after his departure, to sharing backcourt duties now with Jordan Poole, his legacy forever remembered a solid good player only to be reliable in the biggest of games with both the Bucks and Celtics. Both teams ultimately won a title after his departure. Will be a free agent after 2025. After the emergence of the better Derek White, Malcolm viewed more of a luxury than a necessity, the type of guy a desperate fit contender willing to take a chance on. Robert Williams, who arguably should have won Defensive Player of the Year over Marcus Smart, truly damaged goods, played 26 of a possible 146 contests after traded, way too injury prone, needed knee surgery less than 3 weeks into last season. Had the Celtics not make that Drew Holiday trade, they'd probably still be ringless, given how unreliable Time Lord, Malcolm, Grant Williams, and even Marcus Smart became after they all left. All suffer massive injuries one way or another when putting on different uniforms. Selected 27 overall, 2018 class, given the health concerns, if it wasn't for that, Williams probably be a top 8 pick, super high risk, high reward guy, has some value left. From view Boston's potential defensive anchor throughout the decade, now a dirt stringer in Portland, a cursed franchise with the worst big man injury luck imaginable, having no chance winning at a high level. Does Time Lord just sit around, wait till a better team wants to take a chance on him, or just chill a bit, giving 50% effort, not wanting to risk injury? No way he truly wants to remain in Portland. Cam Johnson, from 64-win Suns to losing Brooklyn Nets. Phoenix knew exactly who he became after trading for him in the draft, was 23 years old out of UNC, became everything the franchise hoped, had a clear identity. Year 2 coming off the bench for MacLeod Bridges and Jay Crowder, an impactful 3-and-D 6'8 forward, established catch and shoot guy, had his playoff moments, one of the best 6-man 2022, had excellent on-court chemistry with pretty much every good player from MacLeod Bridges, Booker and Paul, athletic enough to get to the rim for slams and oftentimes shows flashes of athleticism, stays out of foul trouble. Him, Bridges, and Crowder, the perfect loot guys, but a bit injury prone, no longer viewed young, traded alongside MacLeod for Kevin Durant, a whole different environment for a non-contender, shown tons of promise, averaged 18.5 points, got swept by Philly, then rewarded 4 years, $95 million, having a career year, averaging 19 a game, best player on a tanking squad, now 29 years old, wasting away his prime when he could help a contender like an OKC. Cam's value right now will never be higher. The Nets have absolutely no idea what they're doing, praying to land Cooper Flag. At least they're smart enough to get 5 first-rounders for MacLeod Bridges, whom they once said they'll build around. The longer Cam Johnson's with Brooklyn, the more washed he becomes after he leaves. Not a first or second option guy. If he declines next season, Brooklyn will forever regret not moving him sooner. By the time franchise becomes playoff relevant, Johnson will likely be near his mid-30s. Khris Middleton, welcome to the Washington Wizards. From many grueling playoff battles with former Celtic rival Marcus Smart to being teammates, former big namers on the worst franchise imaginable, the new retirement home of the NBA, super injury prone 33 years old, went from a 20-point scorer in his prime to just averaging a dozen points, takes too long to recover from injury, makes too much, 31 mil this season, a player option, over 33 the next, an all-time Bucks favorite, had his incredible moments for more than a decade, starting out deep on the bench with Giannis to becoming first and second options on a title team. But after the double ankle surgery, the final straw to Milwaukee trying to contend, electing for the younger but inferior Kyle Kuzma, given how Kyrie tore his ACL at almost 33 years old, Middleton at his age now, it's never surprising to have a career-ending injury, given the amount of time he's been hurt since 2020, hasn't played 70 games a season since 2019, his defense at this stage totally gone, can't move laterally or vertically. At least he brings in veteran leadership for a young rebuilding team given the brutal second apron. Middleton would have loved to retire as a Milwaukee Buck, but many believe he should have been traded right after winning the title. After getting hurt the 2022 playoffs, Bucks were the likely favorites to repeat that year. At the very least, his number will surely be retired by Milwaukee. Josh Giddey, the former 6th pick of the 21 draft, could have been contending for championships with OKC. Many not sure he's the solution for the struggling Bulls. The starting point guard, averaging 13 over 7 and 6, a pretty good offensive player, can get extended to a 4-year, $120 million type range. A $30 million a year guy, despite the bad shooting and defense, his outside shot improved from last season, became borderline unplayable, now a borderline triple-double threat every night, only 22 years old, proving to step up big after the Levine trade. His biggest problem, playing for a cheap, lazy franchise with no front office, a team that continuously does nothing every deadline. His former OKC team could hoist multiple championships in the coming years, while Giddey, playing with mediocre talent, likely will struggle getting out the play-in. His ceiling's still too early to make assumptions. Giddey's new teammate Kevin Huerter could have been a good backcourt duo with Trae Young in Atlanta. Team wouldn't have reached the conference finals without his Game 7 masterclass. Had the opportunity to prove himself with Sacramento after snapping their 17-year playoff drought. But Huerter, an absolute travesty first round series, averaged 9-4-1, shot under 35% from the field, a piss poor 6 of 39 from deep, a 2-point no-show game 4, a game his team lost by 1 possession at the buzzer. Had Huerter just played better that series, he likely still be in a Kings uniform. Look very familiar to West Coast Joe Harris, who retired after ending up on the Pistons, possibly out the league after his contract's up in 2026. He won't be playing meaningful NBA ball for a while. DeAndre Ayton, the cause of his own demise, told everybody in the beginning what his NBA dreams were: to reach a second contract, nothing else, mission accomplished. Ever since, Ayton has been one of the laziest players, gives no damn about anything, a losing guy who should have been a multiple-time All-Star if given some effort. The biggest wasted talent, still super capable, turning his career around, but why try when all he cares about is video games? Became super soft, allergic to contact, playing 30 minutes a game, getting to the line 1.5 times. DA when hitting adversity, could have been a Phoenix Suns legend had he won the 2021 title, but melted under pressure when adversity hit. The hungrier, much better Giannis took him to school. Ayton never recovered. The type of guy born blessed to be 7 feet with athletic ability, takes his talents for granted. Unlike CP3 or Booker, those guys put in the work year in and year out. Ayton simply never had to work as hard as the other guy and doesn't have the same heart. When his stars just want the best out of him, Ayton softly unfollows his former teammates on social media. An absolute loser of a disgusting number 1 pick. It's his own fault. He doesn't want to be great. Shame, shame, shame. Myers Leonard got sent to the Shadow Realm after his dumb comments gaming. Nothing special of a player. Gave more reasons why teams didn't want him. Recently announced his retirement from the game. The Atlanta Hawks, not quite the Shadow Realm of the NBA until Trae Young officially leaves, but George Niang and Caris LeVert could have been competing for a title in Cleveland, but sent to a play-in squad at the ATL, both sick to their stomachs, wishing they wake up from a bad dream. All these guys at one point were key pieces, fan favorites, impactful players. Some even became champions. But now, they've been sent to the NBA Shadow Realm, forgotten, buried on bad teams, or just straight up disappointing. Whether it's injuries, bad contracts, or just falling off, their careers took a turn for the worse. Some of these guys might bounce back, but most likely not. Just likely get a fade to retirement. One thing's always guaranteed: the NBA moves fast. If you're not producing, you're getting left behind. Which one of these players had the biggest fall off from this list? Let me know in the comments, and as always, catch you next video.